Hello everyone, welcome to Options with Doug, streaming live daily on Bookmap Discord and the Bookmap YouTube channel at 1:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Before I get started, I need to go through the disclosures. General disclosure, all Bookmap limited materials, information, and presentations are for educational purposes only and should not be considered specific investment advice nor recommendations. Risk disclosure, trading futures, equities, and options involves substantial risk of loss and is not suitable for all investors. Past performance is not necessarily indicative of future results. The focus of my presentation and the focus of the Options-Doug chat channel in Discord is options, order flow, the impact of options markets on stocks and futures, and the influence of market maker hedging flow on price action. I have a two-step process for trading, and the first is planning, and I use positional analysis. I look at how traders and market makers are positioned in the options market and how those positions change from day to day to develop a thesis regarding the expected trading range and volatility for the day, as well as a directional bias. And the second step in my process is execution. And I look at real-time order flow in Bookmap and real-time market maker hedging flow in Spotgamma Hero to confirm my thesis and for setups. And just to be clear, I will be talking about setups in an underlying asset like ES futures or S&P 500 or stock like Amazon or Tesla. And those setups can be taken any number of ways, with futures, shares of stock, or with options. So my analysis is based on the options market. Setups, I will be analyzing the underlying asset, but again, setups can be taken any number of ways. Questions and comments are welcome, and I will be watching both the Options-Doug chat channel in Discord and the chat in YouTube for your questions and comments. So again, I welcome your questions and comments. My agenda for today, I'm going to talk about news items, news that came out this morning, economic data, and events for the rest of the week. Then I'll go through my positional analysis, my planning process. Then I'll review some setups from the morning, and then we'll go to the live market and watch the live market and see if there are any additional setups. All right, let's get started. Talk about news first. So today the big news item was the CPI data that came out at 8:30 a.m. Eastern Time. And it looks like to me it pretty much came in line. So the year over year was 4%, forecast 4.1%, previous 4.9%, so it does seem to be dropping. And anyway, apparently the market liked that. So we'll talk more about that in a few minutes. And then for the rest of the week, there are plenty of other significant events. First of all, tomorrow, PPI comes out at 8:30 a.m. Eastern Time, and then the FOMC announcement at 2 p.m., and the press conference begins at 2:30 p.m. So the announcement will come in midway through my session tomorrow. So I'll go through my planning and preparation tomorrow and review setups as long as we have time, and then at 2 p.m. we'll start watching the live market. Then on Thursday, retail sales come out at 8:30 a.m. and then Friday is the big June options expiration. And the June expiration looks to be a big options expiration and definitely call dominated. All right, so that is the news for today as well as the remainder of the week. All right, let's take a look at some charts now. I'll talk about my positional analysis. So first of all, this is the S&P 500 ES futures in Bookmap. And before I cover this chart in detail, I want to take a closer look at SPX, take a look at SPX in a larger time frame. And hello, the shadow. I'm glad you're here. All right, so this is the SPX in a 30-day, 1-hour chart, showing some key levels here. And just to note, this is Thinkorswim, and the script that I'm showing to show the Spotgamma levels, showing these dark red lines. Oops, wrong tool. There is an error with this. I've gotten an error message the last couple days, so I've sent a support request to Spotgamma support. So far, no response. Fortunately, the levels did not change overnight, so I'll talk about that in just a few minutes. So the primary levels are correct. I don't know about the combo levels and the other levels shown on the chart. So on this chart, let me point out levels. First of all, the lower and upper edge of the expected move for the week, shown by these dashed purple lines. And note SPX is trading above that level. The upper edge of the expected move for the week, that's based on the options market. And then in the dashed blue lines, that is the lower and upper edge of the expected move for the day. And it looks like right now SPX is trading just above that level, or just around that level. And that level has been resistance today, so it's a key level. Let me point out the primary Spotgamma levels. First of all, here's the put wall at 4,000. That is Spotgamma's that's the put wall. Again, the strike with the largest net negative gamma, and that can be expected to act as support. And that is pretty far down below, certainly not in play anytime soon. And the next level is the volatility trigger. That is Spotgamma's proprietary gamma flip level. Below that level, market makers' position on the gamma curve is negative. In a negative gamma environment, they have to trade with price to hedge their delta exposure, and that tends to enhance or increase volatility. On the other hand, above that level, market makers' position on the gamma curve is positive, and in a positive gamma environment, they have to trade against price to hedge their delta exposure. And SPX is trading well above that level. Again, that is at 42.45. And then the next level is the 4,300 level. That is the absolute gamma strike, the strike with the largest absolute gamma. And then finally, here's the call wall at 4,400. That's the strike with the largest net positive gamma, and that can be expected to act as resistance. And it certainly looks like the next price target in line. Maybe not today, but maybe by the end of the week. It depends on the FOMC tomorrow. All right, so those are the primary daily levels for SPX. And let's take a look at another Thinkorswim chart. This is SPX in a 1-day, 1-minute chart. And the levels to point out here. This is just showing the levels that are in play for today. First of all, SPX trading above the upper weekly expected move, and that level did act as support. And then the upper daily expected move has been acting as resistance. Multiple times. SPX is having a hard time getting above that level. And then up above is the 4,400 call wall. So for the S&P 500, there were no shifts in levels at all, at least according to the data that on Spotgamma.com. So volatility trigger, put wall, call wall, and absolute gamma strike. There were no shifts in levels. Actually, for the S&P 500 and NASDAQ, no shifts in levels. All right, so let's take a look at Bookmap now. And Bookmap, I have the Spotgamma levels shown in the cloud nodes here. So here's a combo level, and then this 4350 level that was actually noted as resistance in the Spotgamma AM Founders note, and it actually acted as support. And then I have my own cloud notes here, and I have a lot more information in my cloud notes. First of all, I have the same SPX levels. In addition, I have the upper daily expected move. This is for ES, slightly different level than SPX, and ES is still trading below that level. And then I also have SPY levels. So there's the SPY 437, that's a combo 4 level. And down here is the SPY 435 call wall. So levels that are in play for today. First of all, the 437, SPY 437, and the 4374, SPX 4374 level did act as resistance. And again, remember, that's right around the SPX, upper daily expected move, and good level for resistance, and set up a short this morning. And then this cluster of levels, starting with the SPX 4350 level, and then the 4352 level, the SPY 435 call wall level, all acted as support, set up a nice long, and we'll look at setups in more detail in a few minutes. So now it looks like the S&P 500 is trying to break above that SPX, upper daily expected move, and this level that has acted as resistance several times today. All right, so that is the S&P 500. Let's take a look at NASDAQ. NASDAQ, a pretty similar pattern. Let's take a look at QQQ to see the levels, QQQ chart to see the levels that are in play for today. So here's QQQ. Again, no shifts in levels for QQQ or NDX. So here's the 360 call wall, and that should be acting as resistance, but instead it acted as support. And then note the 364 level did act as resistance earlier today. So NASDAQ, the 364, let's see, this is the 365 up here. So, and really it was the NQ 15,150, 15,150 acted as resistance, and then the QQQ 360 or around that level. Also, the upper weekly expected move acted as support. And unlike the S&P 500, NASDAQ has still not reached its high for the day. All right, so those are the levels that are in play for the NASDAQ. Again, primarily so far the 15,150 level, and then the QQQ 360 level. And again, we'll talk about setups in a few minutes. I'm just going over the levels that are in play for today. Right, let's take a look now at some more information that I use in my planning. So this is the SPX Vanna model, and I think it's very important to understand how market makers are positioned on the gamma curve every day to get a sense of how they may react. And I'll talk about an example of that. So first of all, here is the again the SPX Vanna model, and what this chart is showing is market makers delta notional on the vertical axis, and how their delta notional or delta exposure changes with changes in price. And that's shown by this light gray curve showing how market makers delta notional changes with changes in price only. And what this is showing is as price increases, market makers will need to sell futures to hedge their delta exposure. And that is typical of a positive gamma environment. And then the pink curve, or the purple curve, is showing how market makers delta notional changes with changes in price and implied volatility. And that change in delta with a change in implied volatility is the Vanna effect, hence the name of this, the Vanna model. So what this is showing is if price increases, market makers will have slightly less delta notional to hedge as price increases. And then on the other hand, if price decreases, they will have significantly more delta to hedge. So this is typical of a negative gamma environment. On the left side of the chart, as price decreases, they will have to sell futures. So in that case, they will be trading with price. All right, let's see where SPX is trading right now. So I've got SPX at 43.73. So that's right around here where I'm showing my cursor, this vertical axis. So what this is showing is if price continues to increase, market makers will need to sell futures to hedge their delta exposure. And the important thing about this, if you remember last year, in a negative gamma environment, a lot of CPI reports, after a lot of CPI reports, there was a huge rally. And that was again in a negative gamma environment where the CPI came in as expected or not as bad as expected. In a negative gamma environment, market makers, traders are long puts, market makers are short puts. And when the data comes out, implied volatility drops, market makers can buy back their short futures, and that can lead to a powerful Vanna rally, but that in a negative gamma environment. But that environment does not exist today, hence the somewhat muted reaction to CPI compared with some of the reports last year in the strongly negative gamma environment. So no Vanna fuel for a furious rally today. You know, I was looking for more of a range day, and of course that does depend somewhat on the data, but certainly there is no Vanna put fuel available to fuel a significant rally. All right, so that is SPX, and I think again that's why it's important to look at this data. Let's take a look at SPY. So just to note that gamma notional is still positive for all indices and mostly positive, the highest positive reading for SPX. We'll take a look at SPY now, so slightly different. SPY is trading at 437. So right here, and that has been the resistance level. And note that market makers will be selling futures to hedge their delta exposure on this part of the this Vanna curve here. And here it is for QQQ. QQQ trading at 363. So right around the bottom here. So a price continues to increase. QQQ, NASDAQ, market makers will need to sell futures to hedge their delta exposure. All right, so that is how market makers were positioned in the S&P 500 and NASDAQ at the beginning of the day. Let's take a look at gamma notional for SPX, SPY, NDX, and QQQ, and all positive. Note the only number that shifted from yesterday was SPX, slightly lower. So yesterday, gamma notional for SPX was 1.07 billion, and now it is slightly lower at 967 million. And the other numbers did not change at all. So again, a little strange, but again, that's that's what it is. So gamma notional, according to this, did not change. But anyway, the thing to note here is all positive. All right, so based on this, my thesis for the day, looking for a range day, lower volatility, of course, taking into account the fact that CPI data came out this morning, but otherwise, just based on the numbers, looking for a range day, lower volatility. All right, let's take a look at some setups now, and we'll start with the S&P 500. And what I'm showing here is the hero signal, Spotgamma hero signal. This chart is showing price for SPX and options trades, hedging activity for a combined signal, SPX, SPY, XSP, and ES futures, all into one combined signal. If you trade the S&P 500, this is the signal you typically want to take a look at. So today, notional value is quite positive. For the total signal at 3.2, positive 3.2 billion. And that's shown here. And we'll take a closer look at this chart. And but first I want to take a look at the individual components to see how they're contributing. So first of all, SPX, positive at around 700 million. Strong correlation with price action. SPY, very strong correlation, positive 1.75 billion. And then ES futures, also positive. Straight line ticking up at 765 million. Agreement between SPX, SPY, and ES futures, all moving higher. Let's go back to the total signal now. I'm going to zoom in on this chart. Let's zoom in on the morning session a little bit and talk about two trades from the morning. So first of all, this is the again, the S&P 500 combined signal, and there were a couple of setups here. First of all, a divergent short in the morning, and I've already shown this on the Bookmap chart, the reversal at that 437 level, the upper edge of the expected move for the day for SPX, and that was also just right around that combo level. So that set up a short. And then price reversed at that cluster of levels, just right around the SPY 435 level, right here, as, oops, wrong tool. As traders started taking positive delta positions. So actually, let's take a look at one other thing. I normally leave my hero chart like this, looking at the one-day look back period. I actually, yesterday afternoon, had it set to 30 minutes, and this is what I was looking at this morning, and it provided an even more clear signal for this long setup. So it really set up a divergence short here. Hero made a lower high as price made a higher high right there, and then Hero made a higher low as price made a lower low, setting up that reversal again at those around that 435 level. So two very nice divergent setups there with Hero. So let's go take a look at Bookmap now. And again, remember, I'm reviewing setups from this morning. So I'm going to look at ES, NQ, and then I'll take a look at a couple of stocks, and then we'll get to the live market. And let's zoom in here. All right, so here is the first short setup. At these key levels, note the shift in order flow. Aggressive buyers with the green volume dots, and then aggressive sellers come in with the pink volume dots. And note also that larger traders were selling this move higher, that's shown with this falling light blue line. Large traders selling iceberg orders as price moved higher, and then price reverses lower at those key levels as options traders were taking negative delta positions. And note now the shift lower in cumulative volume delta, and then buy stop orders start to fuel the move lower. And as pretty typical, so that's the short setup. Pretty clear in watching Hero and in Bookmap. And then note as price was decreasing, and this is pretty typical of larger traders, they sell strength and buy weakness. So note this continually rising light blue line showing large traders buying with iceberg orders as price decreases. And then when price gets to these key levels, order flow finally shifts positive. CVD starts to tick up, and remember, options traders were taking positive delta positions, helping to set up the the long. So there's the short and there's the long at key levels confirmed by hedging flow and order flow. So if anybody has any questions about these setups, I'm going over kind of a big picture view, not nearly as looking as closely as Bruce does, but anyway, these are the setups that I saw this morning: a great short and a great long. Again, assuming a range day, planning for a range day based on the large gamma notional and the Vanna model. Right, so that's the S&P 500. Short setup, long setup. Now bumping up against resistance. We'll take a closer look at this in a few minutes. Let's go to NASDAQ now. And NASDAQ, quite a bit different from ES. Let's take a look at Hero, and as I recall, there was not much of a clue for NASDAQ with Hero. So like the S&P 500, this is a combined signal for NDX and QQQ. So the signal this morning was not, for a short, was really not there. But then this long setup was supported by Hero with really a confirmed entry here around 10:30 as Hero starts rising. And price pulls back around 10:30 and then moves higher for the long setup. Let's just make sure. We'll go back to the 1 day and still pretty much the same there. All right, so let's go take a look at NQ again. Now, that was hedging flow, but I think the short was also pretty clear when you look at Bookmap. Note the large pink volume dots, aggressive sellers there. So there's a trend break. Aggressive sellers come in. And note it took a while, but CVD starts to drop. And sell stop orders help to fuel the move lower. And note that the iceberg orders, larger traders have been fading this move. They've been selling all day long, shown by the falling light blue line here. So there's the short setup this morning. Not much of a clue from Hero, from options traders, but order flow. When you step back and look at this big picture, and don't look at NASDAQ from tick to tick, then it becomes pretty clear. All right, so let's scroll over a bit. Look at the long setup. And note the shift in order flow. Here, a lot of aggressive buyers start to come in. And then there's the pullback entry. Right back to the upper weekly expected move. Note the shift in cumulative volume delta. And then as price gets going, buy stop orders help to fuel the move lower, higher. And today the S&P 500 was a little bit more clear, and that's what I was trading. All right, let's take a look at a couple of stocks real quick, and then we'll take a look at the live market. So the first stock I want to highlight is Amazon. And call sellers were out today in Amazon, helping to drive price lower. Here's Amazon. I'm going to separate out puts and calls. And let's zoom in on the morning, this big drop. And this falling orange line is showing that traders were selling calls. Negative, that's a negative delta position, and that was helping to drive price lower. And they were also buying puts, but it looks like, at least in the for the first hour, that call sellers were definitely driving price lower. So let's go back to Bookmap. And there's the sharp drop lower. And 125 is the key gamma strike, I believe. So that was the price target this morning. Price did not quite get there. All right, so that's Amazon. The next one is Meta. Let's take a look at Hero for Meta. All right, looking at the morning session, this was really a divergent short. Entry points here and here just below 275, right around 275, as options traders were taking negative delta positions. Let's go take a look at Bookmap. So entries there for short setup, and additional entries later on in the morning for a short there. And we'll go back and take a look at Hero. And 270 is the key gamma strike. Let's just see what they're doing. So they're actually, as of right now, net buyers of calls and buyers of puts. Positive, orange number is positive, so they're buying calls. Blue number negative, so they're buying puts. All right, the last stock is Tesla. In Tesla, there's, as usual, a very strong correlation between hedging flow and price action. I'm going to zoom in on the morning, and this is something that does not occur very often in Tesla, but there was a nice divergent setup. Note the rising hero line as price continues to oscillate down, and that set up a great long right here around 251, 251.50. Let's go take a look at that in Bookmap. And Meta continues lower now, hit that 270 level, primary target. All right, so there's the long setup in Tesla. Remember that divergence in hero, trend break, and if you didn't get the breakout, a couple of tests of this 254 level, heading up to primary price targets at 260, 256, and 260. So this was the, as far as stock goes, Tesla I think was the best setup today so far. And then for futures, I thought the S&P 500 was pretty clear. All right, let's take a look at the live market now. And if anybody has any stocks or anything that you want me to take a look at, please let me know and I'll be glad to do that. So let's go to the S&P 500 now. And it looks like this resistance level, the 437, 43.74 level did act as resistance again. And let's see what options traders are doing. Go to the S&P 500. And note how hero has really flattened out here. This is a cumulative signal for the entire day. And I'm going to change to a shorter look back period, this rolling window period, change that to 30 minutes to get more clarity, and that is something that I do like to do in the afternoon. I'm just looking at the last 30 minutes of data instead of the data for the entire day, and this gives more clarity in the afternoon, especially if that hero line looks flat. And what this is showing is that options traders started fading the move as price hit that 43.74 level, SPX 43.74. They started taking negative delta positions. And now price did finally reverse lower. Looks like it made it down to the SPY 436 level. Let's go back and take a look at Bookmap. So SPX, ES found some support at the SPY 436 level. All right, so Karma FX asked if I could look at Palantir. I'll be glad to. And now I don't have that in Bookmap, but we can take a look at it in Hero. So let's go. We'll take a look at Palantir. And I believe Palantir has been definitely been in play recently, up quite a percent, maybe 100%, something like that. You know, quite a large percentage gain I guess based on their potential involvement with AI. So anyway, Palantir definitely been in play with options traders. Let's see what they're doing. So a pretty choppy hero signal today. We'll go to the 1-day look back period. That smooths it out a bit. So today it looks like really call sellers and call buyers have been driving price. So in the morning, as price was trading at the 16 call wall, here's the 16 call wall. So there was a breach this morning, and then price reversed lower at that level that was expected to act as resistance. And they started selling calls from the open, shown by the falling orange line. And it looks like that drove the price lower to about 15.20. So maybe good for a total of about a 90-cent move lower in Palantir. And then they stopped selling calls, started buying calls, and price immediately responded higher. We'll zoom out. So this is the entire day. All right, so there you go. Hope that helps. And again, I don't have Palantir and Bookmap. Let's just see if that call wall breach was noted. And no, I don't see it here. It's not in the alerts. All right, let's take a look at NASDAQ. So Karma FX asked, do I think it's heading up? I assume you mean Palantir. And sure, you're welcome. Palantir, I don't have it in a Bookmap, so I don't have enough information to say. I think Palantir depends entirely on call buyers. So let's take a look at one other thing. Let's take a look at Palantir here in Equity Hub. Composite view. I'm really not seeing much here. There's not. It looks like the key gamma strike has oscillated between 14 and 16. Call wall has remained at 16, so no, in the last 10 days, really no change to the call wall. Put wall has shifted up. So traders are positioning the puts higher. And I would be looking for, what I was going to point out is, let's take a look at my watch list. Something to potentially look out for is for call-dominated stocks. We can look at, let's look at AMD. So for stocks where there's a large a large amount of calls, call domination. The thing that can happen on expiration, especially with a large amount of gamma expiring, and note the 48%. So these calls, traders buy calls, market makers sell the calls. They have to buy stock to hedge their delta exposure. As expiration approaches, those calls start to lose value, and market makers, and they're going to expire on Friday. So market makers delta notional will start to decrease their delta exposure, and they can sell their long stock. So something to look out for Friday, this call gamma unwind. And Karma asks, can I look at uranium UEC? I can almost guarantee that UEC is not supported here in, well, I can look at it in Equity Hub, but I doubt there's any options control for UEC. We'll take a look at it in just a minute. So let me go through this. So for AMD, what I'm looking at, 48% gamma expiring on Friday, 6/16. So looking for a call gamma, potential call gamma unwind. Those calls, market makers are selling calls, and they buy stock to hedge their delta exposure. As those calls lose value, they can sell their long stocks. They no longer need all that, all those hedges. So another one is NVIDIA, and I'm just sorting my watch list by next gamma expiry. 44% for NVIDIA. Google, another one. And on this chart, this green is showing an area of call domination. So that's what I'm looking at on this chart. The red, put domination, green, call domination. So I'm looking for those calls again to start to lose value as expiration approaches and a potential call gamma unwind. Probably not so much in Apple, Netflix, Microsoft, Amazon, Tesla, kind of an odd composite view chart there. Meta, all call dominated. So all potential call gamma unwinds. All right, let's see if there's anything here for UEC. Nothing. So really no insignificant volume, options volume. So nothing there for UEC. All right, let's take a look at NASDAQ. Let's go to the 30-minute rolling window period. So Hero in a shorter look back period, making a series of lower highs and now price is pretty much flattened out. Let's go take a look at Bookmap. And there's the ES, still found support at the SPY 436 level. And note the larger trader coming in, larger traders, 600 iceberg orders executed. And you're welcome, Karma FX. 600 contracts executed, 12 executions by iceberg orders. Alright, so that is ES. Let's go take a look at NASDAQ. And the 15,100 level continues to act as resistance. And order flow definitely looks bearish to me. CVD, icebergs, and stops all falling. So I would definitely have been looking for shorts today. So short setup at 15,100, this resistance level, multiple shorts. And this 50 level, 362, has acted as support. Now, NASDAQ may be breaking lower. And let's just see who is driving price today. So large cap tech is not as strong as it has been like yesterday. Microsoft, Apple looks slightly negative. Not much for Microsoft. I'm looking at the shades of red and green. This is for the S&P 500. Nvidia is still strong. Tesla strong. It looks like some of the semiconductors are strong here. Energy. Let's take a look at the NASDAQ. So kind of a mixed picture here. Nvidia and Tesla strong, and Microsoft, Broadcom, Google, Amazon, Meta, Apple, not so much. All right, so NASDAQ now has broken lower. And order flow was just very clear here. Again, CVD, stops, yellow line, blue line, iceberg orders, all moving lower. Looks like the next target down is 15,000. So nice, almost 100-point move lower as I've been talking today. So I hope somebody got that. Trend break, move lower. Trend break. Let's take a look at the S&P 500. Yeah, it is following suit. Not as clear a read in order flow here. Let's take a look at Hero. Leave it on the 30-minute rolling window period. And pretty clear read on Hero here for the short. Again, in a 30-minute rolling window period. It took price a while to respond, but did start moving lower. All right, so nice afternoon short setups for the S&P 500. and NASDAQ. All right, my time is up. I want to thank you everyone for watching. Thanks for your questions and comments. And Karma FX, thank you very much for participating. All right, I will see you tomorrow. Remember, tomorrow we have PPI. Report comes out at 8:30 a.m. Eastern Time, and then the FOMC announcement at 2 p.m. So I will go through my positional analysis, and if I have time, I'll review a few setups, and then we'll look at the live market beginning at 2 p.m. Eastern Time. So thanks again. Thanks everyone for watching, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye.